Reincarnated as the useless young master in a feel-good novel, I was publicly jilted at the start by the fiancée, who is an icy CEO. She called me the family's shame, a parasite on society. Everyone around waited to see me made a fool of. Me? I was only thinking whether tonight's braised pork would go with newly brewed rice wine, or that jar of aged Huangzhou buried for 10 years. After all, a life of lying flat is my only pursuit. As for smackdowns, those are the results my subordinates work themselves to achieve. What does that have to do with me? My name is Ethan. I'm a transmigrator. One moment, I was staying up late working overtime over mortgage payments and the arrows on my medical report, and the next I found myself standing in a banquet hall full of fragrant clothes and elegant hair. A memory that didn't belong to me appeared in my mind. I, Ethan, am the sole heir of the Johnson family, the top wealthy clan in Jing City. Unfortunately, I'm a good-for-nothing, indulgent in food, drink, and pleasure, useless and unskilled, embarrassing even within the circle of playboys. Standing across from me, the woman in a haute couture gown whose gaze was colder than a Siberian blizzard was my nominal fiancée, Evelyn Gray. She was also the book's second female supporting role, a career-obsessed, emotionally indifferent ice-cold CEO who looked down on the original owner. The moment I slipped into this body happened to be at the story's first minor climax. Evelyn Gray publicly and unilaterally called off our engagement in front of all the guests. Ethan, her voice was devoid of any ripple, like she was reading a cold financial report. Our engagement ends here. The entire room fell silent in an instant. Countless gazes, schadenfreude, sympathy, those watching for a spectacle, all fixed on me in unison. I could feel the lingering remnants in the original host's body of that all-consuming humiliation and unwillingness. But I, Ethan, a corporate drone soul who only wants to lie flat, only felt relieved. You, Ethan, besides being able to reincarnate, are good for nothing. Evelyn Gray's red lips spat the harshest words. You are the shame of the Johnson family, a parasite attached to the clan. There is no way I, Evelyn Gray's husband, could ever be a worthless man like you. Her words were like poisoned knives, precisely plunged into the original host's pitiable pride. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd. She should have been dumped a long time ago. What kind of person is Miss Gray? Ethan isn't even worthy of holding her shoes. Exactly. Look at him, being called off the engagement, and he doesn't even dare to fart. The Johnson family is doomed, ending up with an heir like that. I kept my head down, not out of shame, but because I was seriously pondering a very grave question. According to my memory, the buffet area of this banquet hall has a section for the 8 major styles of Chinese cuisine that I love most. Among them, the Shandong chef's 9-turn pork intestine is fragrant, tender, and melts in your mouth. At this hour, I wonder if it's still hot. Evelyn Gray saw me not say a word and assumed I'd been struck speechless and despondent. A flash of contempt and relief crossed her brows. She lifted her chin like a proud peacock, turned to leave, and prepared to abandon this shameful stage to me completely. Wait, I spoke. My voice was soft, but it quieted the entire banquet hall again. Evelyn Gray halted, not turning around, only asking coldly, anything else? Want to keep lingering, Ethan? You'll only make a bigger fool of yourself. I lifted my head, met countless gazes, and tugged at the corner of my mouth. Sign the annulment agreement, please. I pulled a pen and a document I had prepared long ago from the inner pocket of my suit, something the original had drafted with a lawyer out of resentment, intending to use it to threaten Evelyn Gray. Now, it had become my letter of release. I walked up to her and handed the document over. Verbal agreements don't count. Put in black and white and don't have any more entanglements from now on. Evelyn Gray didn't seem to expect that reaction from me. She paused for a moment before taking the document. Her eyes scanned the paper, and after confirming it was correct, she took a pen from the assistant and neatly signed her name. Her handwriting was as sharp as a blade. Good. She tossed the signed document back to me, as if discarding trash. I hope from now on, You'll have some self-awareness. I picked up the document, examined her signature carefully, and nodded in satisfaction. Pleasure doing business, I said. Then, to everyone's astonished looks, I turned and walked straight toward the buffet. 9-turn large intestine. Here I come. The world behind me seemed to have been muted, then exploded the next second. He just left like that. Wanna eat? What nerve? Giving up on everything, huh? Pathetic. Evelyn Gray's body stiffened for a moment. I could feel that murderous gaze glued to my back. She probably thought I would cry, make a scene, or kneel and beg for mercy. Too bad. I just wanted to eat. I picked up a piece of glistening 9-turn intestine and shoved it into my mouth. Rich flavor, fatty, but not greasy. Life is worth it. As for that cold ex-wife, who? Don't know her. My new chapter in life begins with lying flat and devouring meals. Back at my villa, big enough to hold a sports meet, I flopped onto the soft sofa and let out a contented sigh. My phone buzzed. It was my all-purpose assistant, Arthur. Mr. Ethan, the news that Miss Gray unilaterally called off the engagement has already trended at #1. Oh, I responded, my eyes still fixed on the food documentary playing on the TV. The stock price of Gray Group rose 3 percentage points as a result, and the market generally approves Miss Gray's decisive ability to cut through the mess. Arthur's voice was as steady as ever. That's good as long as she's happy. I yawned. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line. Mr. Ethan, are you all right? What could I possibly have to do? I asked back in surprise. I'm busy. Deciding whether to have crab roast soup dumplings or shrimp shumai for breakfast tomorrow. Arthur, he fell silent again. I knew what he was thinking. The loyal butler who had watched me grow up must have thought I'd been provoked into a breakdown. Arthur, I need you to handle something. I shifted into a more comfortable position. Mr. Ethan, please command. Arthur's tone immediately became respectful. Do we have shares in that mining company in South America? The one called Blue Butterfly? I asked, relying on the extra memories in my head. The Johnson family's visible businesses are real estate and hotels, but the true core is a global commercial empire, of which even the book only reveals the tip of the iceberg. And I, Ethan, am the empire's sole heir with the highest authority. This matter is known only to Arthur, a few key confidants, and me, including Evelyn Gray. She thought she married the foolish son of a landowning family, not knowing she almost became the mistress of an underground dynasty that controls the world's economic lifelines. Yes, Mr. Ethan, through an offshore fund, we hold 70% of Blue Butterfly Mining shares, giving us absolute control. Oh, I said lazily, sell it to that rock capital a bit cheaper. Arthur was stunned. Mr. Ethan, Blue Butterfly Mining recently discovered a new rare metal deposit with huge reserves. Its future value is immeasurable. Selling it now, and at a discount to Rock Capital. I knew what he was going to say. Rock Capital is Evelyn Gray's archenemy. And the new mine, discovered by Blue Butterfly Mining, is the most critical core raw material in the new energy industry Evelyn Gray plans to develop next. In the book's plot, Evelyn Gray goes through countless hardships, fights Rock Capital to the death, ultimately wins narrowly, secures the cooperation rights with Blue Butterfly Mining, and cements her status as the queen of business. Now, that's the plan. I don't want to explain more. I'm tired. I want to lie down. Let them play by themselves. Yes, Mr. Ethan. Arthur asks no more. This is exactly what I like about him. Extremely decisive and never talks back. After hanging up, I went back to watching my food documentary. On screen, a Yangzhou chef was making a dish called 3-layered duck, a domestic duck stuffed into a wild duck, which is then stuffed into a squab. The process was intricate and made my mouth water. Life is short. Seize the pleasures while you can. What business empire? What slapping the ex-wife drama? Does any of that smell as good as Yangzhou fried rice? The next day, I slept until I woke up naturally. Sunlight poured through the huge floor-to-ceiling window. I squinted, rolled over twice in bed, and then leisurely got up, worked out, took a shower, Eight-pack abs flickered faintly in the mirror. Yeah, this face and body are really something. Definitely a perk of transmigration. I was humming to myself while making breakfast when Arthur called again. Mr. Ethan, Blue Butterfly Mining has been successfully sold to Rock Capital. I bit into the soft-boiled egg I had fried. Also, there was a barely perceptible smile in Arthur's tone. The Gray Group announced today that it will invest heavily to enter the new energy battery sector. Less than 10 minutes after that announcement went out, Rock Capital declared that they had fully acquired Blue Butterfly Mining, securing the most critical raw material supply for that field for the next decade. I can imagine Evelyn Gray's expression right now. It must be even colder than the ice sculpture I saw yesterday. The Gray Group stock hit the daily limit down at the open, Arthur added. Oh, I took a sip of milk and said lightly, just don't let her go bankrupt. After all, she is at least a neighbor. Understood, Mr. Ethan. After hanging up, I looked out at the blue sky and white clouds, feeling exceptionally relaxed. I wasn't targeting anyone in particular. I just tossed a hot potato out and incidentally locked two annoying mad dogs in a cage to let them bite each other. As for me, I just want to lie back quietly, handing things over to my trusted aide, only controlling the big picture direction myself, then sitting back and waiting for the results. God, it feels fucking great. In the following days, I lived the retirement life I had always dreamed of. Work out in the mornings, study recipes in the afternoons, and taste the rice wine I brewed myself at night. The upper circles of Jing City were already in an uproar. Evelyn Gray's business career had suffered a Waterloo and become the biggest joke. One moment she had just announced a foray into new energy. The next, the raw materials were quietly cut off from under her. It was said she had unleashed a thunderous fury at the company, and several senior executives were fired on the spot. And I, her discarded, useless ex-husband, had become completely invisible. Everyone thought I was hiding in some corner, licking my wounds, or drowning my sorrows in alcohol. They didn't know I was agonizing over one question. Tonight, should I recreate Buddha jumps over the wall, or make a simple boiled fish and spicy sauce? That afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. Hello, is this Mr. Ethan? I'm from the private kitchen, Qingwei. Your reserved table is ready. Qingwei? I racked my memory and remembered. This was what the original owner had booked a month ago. The hardest to reserve private restaurant in Jing City, said to be run by a chef descended from some famous foreign cook. Fine, I'm just too lazy to cook anyway. I changed into casual clothes, got into the least conspicuous Maybach in the garage, and drove over in a leisurely daze. Qingwei is located in a quiet Sihyuan courtyard, the surroundings serene and elegant. I was led to a seat by the window. Outside the window was a stretch of verdant bamboo. Just as I was studying the menu, a gentle voice sounded beside me. Excuse me, is this seat taken? I looked up and saw a face that could make any man's heart skip a beat. She wore a simple white dress, her long hair like a waterfall, her brows and eyes curved. When she smiled, two shallow dimples appeared at the corners of her mouth. She seemed as if she had stepped out of a painting of a Jiangnan water town, pure, gentle, with a comforting presence. It was her, Sophia, the heroine in the book, a true white moonlight, and to me, a member of the lie-flat crowd, the most suitable angel to spend life with. No one. I came back to myself and smiled. She sat opposite me and offered an apologetic smile. Sorry, all the seats were booked today. My friend had something come up and couldn't make it. And since I was alone, the host asked if I'd be willing to share a table. It's fine. Eating alone is indeed boring, I said truthfully. My name is Sophia. She reached out her hand. Ethan. I held her hand, warm and soft, as if grasping a piece of fine, warming jade. I could feel that damned hormone in my body starting to stir again. The setup of this body is really far too youthful. Mr. Ethan likes Chinese food too? Sophia's gaze fell on the menu I was marking. I like it, I nodded. In life, it all comes down to eating and drinking. My words made her laugh, her eyes curving into crescents. Mr. Ethan, you're really interesting. We chatted off and on, from the knife skills of Hawaiian cuisine to the flavor profiles of Sichuan dishes, and then to the heat control of Cantonese cooking. I was surprised to find that her understanding of food far exceeded that of ordinary people, even more than mine. Miss Sophia is a gourmet? I asked curiously. Sort of an under-the-radar food columnist, she said with a modest smile. So that's it. No wonder. We enjoyed that meal very much. She would naturally serve me dishes, her eyes lighting up when she tasted something delicious, and she would listen attentively as I talked about the dry details of winemaking. Being with her, time seemed to slow down. No commercial backstabbing, no strange looks from others, only the scent of food and the pleasing sight of the girl in front of me. After the meal, we walked out of the Sihiyuan together. The evening breeze was slightly cool, lifting the strands of hair at her temples. Today was really nice. Thank you, Mr. Ethan. She stood by the car and waved at me. Same here. I looked at her. Call me Ethan. She paused for a moment, then smiled even sweeter. Okay, Ethan. Then should I call you Brother Ethan? Okay. I felt my heart skip another beat. Then I'm off, Brother Ethan, goodbye. She climbed into a subdued red Hongqi sedan and vanished into the night. I stood where I was, watching the taillights recede, motionless for a long time. Only one thought occupied my mind. Maybe in a life of lying flat, having someone like that by your side isn't so bad. Truth only exists within the range of a cannon's shot, while happiness often hides in the little details of everyday life. I murmured a line of flirtatious nonsense I didn't know where I had seen, and got into the car in a cheerful mood. My encounter with Sophia was like a breeze that blew away the last trace of gloom in my heart since I traversed here. We began to contact each other frequently. She would send me messages about the little food spots she'd discovered in hidden corners. I would send her the osmanthus wine I had newly brewed. Our conversations always revolved around eating and drinking, lighthearted and pleasant. Meanwhile, the business world in Jing City told a different story. Evelyn Gray took a major hit on her new energy project and was left severely drained. True to the business tycoon persona from the book, she didn't collapse. Instead, she quickly shifted direction and began to target another long-coveted prize, a company called Cloud Tech, an artificial intelligence firm. This company possessed industry-leading algorithmic technology and was a hard nut that every internet giant wanted to crack. The company's founder was a tech geek, eccentric, impervious to persuasion, and had turned down acquisition offers from everyone. Evelyn Gray had made thorough preparations this time and was determined to succeed. She poured in a large amount of capital, quietly buying up Cloud Tech's retail shares on the secondary market, while sending her strongest negotiation team to wear the founder down day and night. Arthur would tell me these things as if they were jokes. Mr. Ethan, I'm afraid Miss Gray's efforts will be in vain again this time. Oh, I was lying in the rocking chair in the yard, sunning myself, with a plate of freshly sliced chilled watermelon on the small table beside me. The founder of Yunwan Technology was your junior in college. Back when he was starting the business and had no money, you casually gave him some seed funding and took 60% of the original shares of the company. You're the largest and the only external shareholder. I racked my brain to search my memory. It seems that's how it was. The original owner back then spent money everywhere to show off at school and unexpectedly picked a promising prospect. That junior, I think his name was Jack. He's called Jack Monroe. Arthur corrected. He said that without you, he wouldn't be where he is today. The company is his life, and yours too. Whoever wants to touch it, he'll fight them tooth and nail. I picked up a slice of watermelon and took a bite. So sweet. Then let him handle it himself, I said. Don't bother me, I'm busy. Yes, Mr. Ethan. A few days later, I invited Sophia to a farm on the outskirts of the city to experience rural life. We fed the rabbits together, picked strawberries, and, under the farm owner's guidance, learned to make kiln-baked pizza. Sophia played like a child, her face dusted with flour, laughing uproariously. I looked at her and felt the sunlight was just right, the years peaceful and gentle. My phone rang. It was Arthur. I stepped aside to answer. Mr. Ethan, There's new movement on Miss Gray's side. Speak. She failed to acquire Yunduan technology, was humiliated and enraged, and has started using underhanded tactics, trying to use public opinion to bring down Yunduan technology. Jack can't hold on much longer and has asked me for help. TSK, how annoying. I frowned. Can't people just let me have a peaceful weekend? What do you mean, then? Tell Jack not to defend. Let her attack. I looked at Sophia, who was talking to a little lamb not far away, and felt better. Show the controlling stake we have in the other entertainment company, hire a few best actors and actresses, and put on a big show with her. In my hand, I still held the country's largest entertainment media group. She wants to fight a public opinion war? I can make her lose even her underwear. Understood, Mr. Ethan. After hanging up, I walked back to Sophia's side. Work stuff? She asked with concern. A minor problem, already taken care of. I shook my head with a smile and casually wiped the flour off her face. My fingertips accidentally brushed her cheek, warm and delicate. Her face flushed in an instant like a ripe strawberry. Ethan, do you have an 8-pack? She suddenly asked out of the blue. I froze. My best friend said that guys who work out often have them. Her voice grew smaller and smaller, her head almost buried in her chest. I watched her look of shy curiosity and suddenly felt like teasing her. I took her hand and pressed it against my abdomen through the thin t-shirt. Just feel it yourself and you'll know. Her hand froze on my abdomen, not moving at all. I could clearly feel the temperature of her palm rising rapidly. Through the fabric, that firm, distinct outline left her completely dumbfounded. 1, 2, 3, it really is 8. She stammered, her face flushed so red it looked like it could bleed. I leaned close to her ear and lowered my voice. Do you want to touch what's not wearing clothes? She, like a frightened rabbit, snatched her hand back and turned to run. I watched her flee in a panic and couldn't help laughing out loud. That girl is both useless and loves to play. So adorable. The outcome of the public opinion battle was no surprise. Evelyn Gray had spent heavily to hire internet trolls and marketing accounts. At first, they steered the narrative, saying that Yindon Kuti had stolen foreign technology and had major security flaws. Before it could gain traction, it was smacked down on the beach by an even more violent wave. My entertainment group immediately released several videos of International Best Actor and Best Actress winners jointly endorsing cloud tech. Then, a few national research institutions also spoke out publicly, stating that cloud tech's technology was entirely independently developed and has already been applied in national-level classified projects. That really stirred up a hornet's nest. Attack a company with state backing? Evelyn Gray instantly went from plaintiff to defendant. The relevant authorities immediately launched an investigation. The Gray Group was fined heavily for malicious business competition and spreading rumors, and its reputation plummeted. Evelyn Gray was in complete despair. It was said she hadn't slept for 3 days and nights. And I was in my private wine cellar teaching Sophia how to taste the baijiu I had just brewed. Let be soft on entry, a line down the throat. I swirled the small celadone cup in my hand. Feel how it unfolds on the tip of your tongue. The top note is the grain aroma. The middle note is floral and fruity, and the finish carries a touch of aged wood. Sophia mimicked me and cautiously took a small sip. The spicy liquid immediately made her frown, tears welling up in her eyes. Hot, hot! She stuck out her tongue, fanning herself frantically. Baijiu is still too strong for you. I smiled and handed her a glass of sour plum juice. Try this, it'll cool the burn. She gulped down more than half the cup before she recovered. Ethan, you're terrible. She scolded me with a mock glare. The corners of her eyes were still slightly flushed, which did nothing to harm her looks. If anything, it made her flirtatious. My heart skipped a beat, and I felt a certain part beginning to stir. I'm done for. This damn setup. I quickly turned away, pretending to tidy the liquor rack to calm down my unruly little brother. You seem to know how to do everything. Sophia's voice came from behind, with a hint of admiration. Not really, I said, still facing away from her, my voice a bit awkward. I'm just interested in these things, messing around with them. Ethan, who exactly are you? She asked curiously. You seem very mysterious. Me? I turned around, back to normal. An unemployed layabout, a salted fish living off scraps. I don't buy it. She sneered, stepped in front of me, suddenly rose on her tiptoes, leaned close to my ear, and blew gently. A salted fish could never brew such delicious wine. The warm breath sprayed against my ear, soft and ticklish. My whole body froze. My body's reaction was faster than my brain. I grabbed her waist in one motion, holding her tightly against me. Our eyes met, and the air seemed to freeze. Her eyes were like a clear spring, reflecting my somewhat disheveled face. I could see surprise in her eyes, and a faint, barely noticeable anticipation. Screw restraint. I lowered my head and kissed that softness I had longed for. Her body tensed instantly, but she did not push me away. Awkward, clumsy. I patiently guided her, prying open her molars, conquering territory. The scent of wine, mixed with the unique sweet aroma from her body, made me sink completely. I don't know how much time passed. It wasn't until she was nearly out of breath that I reluctantly let go of her. She leaned against me, breathing heavily, her cheeks flushed, her eyes shifting. Ethan G. She called softly, a trace of hoarseness and nasal tone in her voice. Your relatives, they don't give any warning beforehand? Next time, for sure. I stroked her long hair, smiling with satisfaction. There's a next time? She looked up and pounded my chest once, softly, more like coquettish play. Yes, I looked at her eyes seriously. As long as you want, there will be one every day from now on. Her face flushed even more. She buried her head in my arms and let out a small cradling that warm, fragrant softness. I felt my life reach a new pinnacle on the road of doing nothing. What does it mean to be a winner? This is it. After we made our relationship official, the way Sophia and I interacted entered an overly sweet phase. She's a mama's girl. Her family is strict, but she still finds every possible way to sneak out and go on dates with me. She always liked to take small liberties with me. When we watched movies, she'd slip her hand under the hem of my shirt, calling it checking whether my abs have been slacking off. When we went for walks, she would suddenly leap onto my back and have me carry her. I could easily lift her with one hand. She would giggle and call me her human steed. We gave each other special nicknames. I called her Sophie, and she called me Ethan. Simple, yet unique. Even our pets were together before we were. I raised a ragdoll cat named Tang Ping, astonishingly lazy. She raised a golden retriever named Findu, lively like a perpetual motion machine. Every time we went on a date, Findu would enthusiastically leap on a Tang Ping and wash Tang Ping's face with its big tongue. And Tang Ping, unbelievably, for once didn't resist at all, letting Finda boss it around. You see, Finda loves lying flat so much. Sophia always said that. Yeah, I said, looking at that good-for-nothing cat, it's been taken down. Just like me. The goodness of life almost made me forget about someone like Evelyn Gray. But she obviously hadn't forgotten me. 2 consecutive major failures made her harbor great doubts about me, her useless former fiancé. She began investigating me frantically. She used all her connections and resources trying to turn my 18 years of life inside out. As a result, naturally, there was nothing to show for it. On the surface, my identity was as clean as a sheet of paper. Apart from eating, drinking, and playing, there are no stains and no highlights either. This contrast plunged Evelyn Gray into even deeper confusion and irritation. She couldn't understand how someone so mediocre could repeatedly ruin her plans. Could it be that he has someone backing him? That day, Sophia and I were eating at a newly opened molecular gastronomy restaurant. Sophia's phone lit up. She glanced at it, her brows knitting slightly. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing. She shook her head. A friend I'm not very close to sent some random nonsense. I didn't pay it any mind. But soon, the gazes of the other diners in the restaurant began to drift toward us, some deliberate, some not. Some even took out their phones and pointed at me, whispering and gesturing. I frowned, sensing that something was wrong. I took out my phone and opened the trending topics. Hashtag the Johnson family's useless son living off others hashtag. Hashtag the Taylor family's heiress and the parasite hashtag. A few glaring headlines hung high on the list. Clicking in, there were all kinds of rumor-mongering exposés. They said that after Evelyn Gray broke off our engagement, I shamelessly latched onto the even more illustrious Taylor family heiress, Sophia. The accompanying photos were various shots of our dates, taken from awkward angles that made me look like a sleazy tag-along, while Sophia appeared as an innocent, affluent beauty. In the article, they painted me as a scheming, calculating kept man and portrayed Sophia as a naive, love-struck sweet girl. There were even so-called insiders leaking that I had used some dishonorable means to make Sophia fall head over heels for me. The comment section was even more disgusting. WTF, who is this guy? He looks decent, but he's actually a kept man. Sophia must be blind, right? With so many outstanding young men to choose from, she picked something like that. Miss Gray is majestic. I knew this guy was trash from the start. Good for her for dumping him. I scroll my phone with a blank expression. Even with my toes, I could tell whose doing this was. Evelyn Gray, unable to dig up any dirt on me, wants to use this kind of low, dirty trick to disgust me and at the same time drive a wedge between Sophia and me. How naive. I put down my phone and looked at Sophia across from me. She had also seen the news. Her small face was flushed with anger, her chest heaving repeatedly. Don't be angry. I took her hand. It's not worth getting mad over someone like that. But how can they say that about you? Her eyes were red. Ethan, you're not like that. I know I'm not. That's enough. I smiled. A mouth is on someone else. We can't control it. Come on, the food's getting cold. Let's go home. I'll make your favorite sweet and sour ribs. I thought she'd keep being angry or start sniffling. To my surprise, she took a deep breath and, in return, squeezed my hand. No, she shook her head, her eyes unusually resolute. I can't let them bully you like this. After speaking, she took out her phone and dialed a number. Hi, Mom. Her voice returned to its usual sweetness. Where are you and Dad? I have something to tell you. After hanging up, she grabbed my hand. Come on, Ethan. I'm taking you somewhere. Sophia dragged me into one of her family's cars. I was a little dazed. Sophie, where are we going? My place. She was succinct. Go to your house. I was even more bewildered. Meet the parents. Isn't this moving a bit too fast? I'm not mentally prepared yet. Yes, meet the parents. She looked at me, her eyes sparkling. Ethan, do you trust me? That question was a bit abrupt and out of the blue, but I looked into her clear eyes and nodded without hesitation. I trust you. Of course I trust you. You're the heroine, and I'm your official pairing. If we don't trust each other, are we going to wait for the villain to sow discord? She smiled, smiling like a child who'd stolen candy. That's fine then. The car sped along and finally stopped at the entrance of a heavily guarded estate. Armed guards stood at the gate. My eyelid twitched. The book only said Sophia's family background was higher than Evelyn Gray's, but it didn't say it was to this extent. This isn't a wealthy family. This is clearly... The car passed several checkpoints before slowly driving into the depths of the estate. In front of a rather old-fashioned Chinese-style building stood a middle-aged couple. The man wore a Zhongshan suit, commanding respect without anger, his gaze sharp as an eagle. The woman wore a qipao, gentle and demure, her bearing like an orchid. Sophia pulled me out of the car and ran up to them. Dad, Mom, you brat, always so impulsive. What happened? Margaret chided her, then glanced at me with a hint of appraisal. Robert's stare was even more oppressive, as if he could see through to a person's heart. Dad, Mom, let me introduce you. Sophia pulled me in front of her and announced loudly, This is my boyfriend, Ethan. Then she leaned close to my ear and, in a voice only the two of us could hear, quickly said, My dad is Robert. My mom is Margaret. My pupils trembled. Robert, Margaret, These two names only appeared in legends within the book. One is a big shot in the military, the other a legendary figure in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In reality, they wield immense power over the court and the country. I always thought Sophia was just a goddess from an ordinary family, at most from a wealthy household. So it turns out she's a top-tier, third-generation red aristocrat. That information gap. Even I, someone who transmigrated into a book, was deceived. Hello, uncle and aunt. I hurriedly tucked away the storm in my heart and greeted them respectfully. Robert responded with a sound from his nose, which counted as a greeting. Come in and have a seat. Margaret's tone was considerably gentler. In the living room, the atmosphere was somewhat heavy. Robert sat in the main chair, holding a cup of tea, sipping slowly, all the while refusing to look at me. I knew this was a show of force. Sophia panicked and handed over her phone. Dad, Mom, look. Someone online is bullying Ethan. Margaret took the phone, glanced at it a few times, and her brow immediately furrowed. Robert also leaned over to take a look, and his expression instantly darkened. Nonsense. He slammed his teacup down on the table. Things based on rumors like this. Is that something worth you running back in a flap over? This isn't making things up. They're slandering Ethan. Sophia argued with reason. Ethan is not the kind of person they're saying. Oh. Robert finally looked up at me, his eyes sharp as fire. Then tell me, who do you think you are? That no-good kid from the Johnsons had his engagement publicly called off by that gray girl and then turned right around and got involved with my daughter. Kid, tell me, what do you want from our Sophie? That question struck at the heart. Before I could speak, Sophia cut in. Dad, Ethan isn't after anything. We truly love each other. Sincere. Robert sneered. Can sincerity put food on the table? He's a playboy who can't even support himself. What could he possibly give you for happiness? I can support him. Sophia's stubbornness flared up. I felt equal parts amused and exasperated. That kid really does dare to say anything. You. Robert was so angry he couldn't speak. All right. Margaret stepped in to smooth things over. Old Robert, hold your tongue a bit. Let the children talk about their own matters. She looked at me, her gaze gentle yet sharp. Ethan, is it? Regarding the remarks online and my husband's doubts, do you have anything to say? Here it comes. The person in question has entered the scene. I took a deep breath and stood up. I didn't rush to explain. Instead, I first bowed deeply to Robert and Margaret. Uncle, Aunt. First, I sincerely apologize for the trouble these false online statements have caused Sophie and the Taylor family. Second, regarding your question, what do I want from Sophie? I turned my head and looked at Sophia. She was watching me with a worried expression. I smiled at her, a smile that carried an unprecedented seriousness. I'm drawn to her because she looks beautiful when she smiles. I'm drawn to her because when she eats, she shares all the good things with me. I wanted her to be happy all day because of the pot of wine I brewed. I wanted her that when I said I only wanted to be a salted fish, she didn't laugh at me, but said she would lie in the sun with me. What I wanted was the person Sophia. From beginning to end, it was only her. My voice wasn't loud, but everyone in the living room heard me clearly. Sophia's eyes instantly reddened. Margaret's gaze softened considerably. Only Robert remained as stern as ever. Sounds better spoken than sung. He snorted coldly. What use are these ethereal things? I ask you, Ethan, what can you give Sophie? Can you protect her? When rumors and slander strike her like knives, besides saying a few pleasant words, what else can you do? Dad! Sophia was so anxious she was nearly in tears. I raised my hand, signaling for her to calm down. I looked Robert straight in the eye and spoke, enunciating each word. Uncle, I know that in your eyes I may be good for nothing. But I can promise you, from today on, any overt or covert attack aimed at Sophie will have to go through me first. No one in this world is allowed to bully her. Not even the Almighty. I'm serious. In that moment, I was no longer Ethan the slacker who just wanted to lie flat. I am a man, making the most solemn promise to the father of the woman I love. The whole world seemed to grow silent. After a long while, Robert finally spoke slowly. You're quite bold in your words. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. Hello, Oldley. It's me, Robert. Help me look something up. Yes, that online kid named Ethan and that Gray family's maid and the Gray group behind her. I want them to pay for what happened today before dawn. After he finished speaking, he hung up and looked back at me. Kid, I don't care what you were like before. But from today on, if you dare let Sophie suffer even a little, he pointed out the window, I'll throw you out of here. I looked at him and smiled. That's a promise. I knew it. I had passed this test. The power of authority can be, at times, just this blunt, simple, and effective. And this is only the beginning. Evelyn Gray, you probably have no idea exactly what kind of people you mess with. The Taylor family's influence exceeded my imagination. Before Sophia and I had even left the estate, public opinion online had already done a complete about-face. Those clickbait accounts that had been fluttering around were called out one by one. Some were suspended, others deleted. A few of the high-profile rumor mongers were directly invited by the police to come in for questioning. Soon after, Gray Group was exposed for multiple serious crimes including tax evasion, financial fraud, and malicious market manipulation. The evidence was conclusive, ironclad. Relevant authorities formed a special task force overnight and took up residence at Gray Group. Gray Group stock didn't even get a chance to hit the daily limit down. Trading was halted outright, awaiting delisting. Evelyn Gray, the once glorious ice-cold CEO, fell from the heights into the mud overnight. All of this happened so fast that every onlooker was left unable to react. On the trending searches, all the entries that had previously slandered me were gone. In their place was a new entry that left everyone gaping in disbelief. Hashtag Ethan still hasn't gotten out of bed today. Hashtag. I clicked it, and it was a post from my workaholic subordinate Jack Monroe's personal account. The boss didn't come to the office again today and isn't answering calls. Guess he hasn't gotten up yet. Sigh. Those of us who work have to worry more on his behalf. At Cloud Tech, hashtag our boss is the happiest boss in the world. Hashtag. Attached was a screenshot of Cloud Tech's stock price hitting the daily limit. This post, which looked like a complaint, instantly went viral online. What the hell? This Ethan is the boss of Cloud Tech. The one who turned down acquisitions from all the giants. The Cloud Tech, whose technology leads the world. The boss slept, and the company's stock hit the daily limit? What kind of divine company is this? Are they hiring? The ones who called him a kept man, step outside for a walk. He's a true big shot. He just can't be bothered with you mortals. So, Evelyn Gray attacking Cloud Tech before was essentially attacking her ex-fiancé's company? This is just clownish. Ha. I'm dying laughing. The best business war comedy of the year. Public opinion completely reversed. I went from being a freeloading parasite to a low-key, carefree, true big shot. And Evelyn Gray became the laughingstock in everyone's eyes. I saw all of this on the way home, on Sophia's phone. Ethan, you're amazing. She hugged my arm, her eyes full of little stars. So you invested in Cloud Tech this early. Just luck. I ruffled her hair. Not luck. She pouted. My dad even said that someone with your business sense is no ordinary person. He also said, I should hold on to you. When she said the last line, her voice grew even softer. Something stirred in me. I pulled the car over to the side of the road, turned to look at her. So what about you? How do you plan to keep me? She got embarrassed under my gaze, turned her head to look out the window, but muttered, Anyway, this life of yours, don't even think about running away. Run. I laughed softly, leaned in, and kissed her reddened earlobe. I couldn't wish for anything better than being tied to you for a lifetime. Back at my villa, Arthur was already waiting at the door. Mr. Ethan, Miss Sophia. He greeted respectfully. Arthur, I said, pointing to Sophia beside me as I introduced her. From now on, she is the mistress of this place. Arthur froze for a moment. Then a sincere smile spread across his face. Yes, Mr. Ethan. Welcome, young mistress. Sophia blushed at being called that, but it warmed her heart. She replied softly, Hello, Mr. Arthur. As we entered the room, The golden retriever named Strive immediately bolted out of its bed and made a beeline for my cat laid back. Another routine round of the bootlicker greeting began. Watching this scene, I suddenly felt that this was probably the life I wanted. A beautiful companion by my side, adorable pets for company, loyal subordinates to solve every problem. And all I need to do is lie back and enjoy life. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered it casually. Ethan. On the other end of the line came a familiar, yet icy voice. It was Evelyn Gray. Her voice was no longer the lofty indifference from before. It trembled slightly and was filled with despair. Why? She asked. What do you mean, why? I asked, already knowing the answer. Why did you treat me like this? Her voice had a sob in it. Yunwan technology is yours. Why didn't you say so sooner? Did you just want to watch me act like a clown for you, while you hid behind and laughed? Miss Gray, I interrupted her. Are you misunderstanding something? From beginning to end, you were the one directing and performing. You were the one who called off the engagement, the one who looked down on me, the one who used dirty tricks to mess with me. I only did the most basic act of self-defense. As for looking at your misfortune, I snorted. Sorry, I don't have time for that. I'm busy with my girlfriend, enjoying life. As I spoke, I glanced at Sophia, who was in the kitchen rummaging through the fridge to see what ingredients were available, and my voice unconsciously softened. So, if there's nothing else, don't call again. I don't want her to get the wrong idea. After I hung up, I ended the call. I could picture the other end of the line. Evelyn Gray's face contorted with shock, humiliation, and regret. But what does that have to do with me? She chose the path herself. The bitter fruit is naturally hers to taste. As for me, I have to go help my girl and assist with cooking. After all, to win a woman's heart, you must first win her stomach. This sentence works just as well in reverse. In the kitchen, Sophia was wearing the pink teddy bear apron I bought her, battling a potato. She held the peeler, so careful she looked like she was disarming a time bomb. I wrapped my arms around her waist from behind and rested my chin on her shoulder. Let me, my little cook. No. She twisted her body to dodge my harassment. We agreed I would make it for you today. Are you sure? I watched her clumsy movements, holding back a laugh. I'm afraid my kitchen might heroically sacrifice itself today. Mean. She gently bumped me with her elbow. I'm trying really hard to learn. I took hold of her hand that was holding the knife and guided her hand, teaching her step by step. See, the knife should run along the surface of the potato like this. That way you won't waste any. My palm cupped the back of her hand, warm breath blowing against the side of her neck. Her body stiffened slightly, and her movement in peeling the potato stopped. Ethan, her voice was a little weak. You smell so good. Is that so? I lowered my head and lightly planted a kiss on the pale side of her neck. Then taste it, sweet or not. One potato. We spent almost 10 minutes peeling it. In the end, I was still the head chef for this dinner, and she was in charge of making a mess. We made sweet and sour spare ribs, mapo tofu, and a simple stir-fried seasonal vegetable dish. Very simple home cooking, but we ate it like it was the finest delicacy. After dinner, we curled up on the sofa to watch a movie. Sophia, like a little kitten, snuggled in my arms. Ethan, she suddenly looked up at me. Evelyn Gray, will she still cause you trouble? No. I stroked her long hair and said firmly, Gray Group is finished. Even if the Taylor family doesn't intervene, my subordinates who scrambled fiercely for the title of top subordinate are more than enough to ensure Evelyn Gray never recovers in this lifetime. They would stop at nothing to let me peacefully lie flat. That's good. She breathed a sigh of relief, then asked with some curiosity, you and her, were we really engaged? I admitted calmly. A family-arranged marriage, no real feelings. Besides, look at her ice-cold face. When she's around, I can't even eat. She laughed at me. I still prefer our Sophie. I pinched her cheek. Soft, fragrant. Just looking at her makes you hungry. You're picking on me again. She wriggled in my arms to get more comfortable. By the way, Ethan, there's a charity gala in a few days. Will you go with me? A charity banquet? I frowned. That kind of event where you stand around for hours and don't get enough to eat again. Oh, this time it's different, she cooed. It's hosted by a good friend of mine, mainly to raise funds for children in mountain areas. And there will be lots of delicious food. Will there be braised pig intestines with 9 turns? Never. Will there be Buddha jumps over the wall? Seems like not. Then what am I supposed to do? You're going to be my date, she said with perfect justification. I'm going to let everyone know that you're Sophia's boyfriend. The best boyfriend in the whole world. She tilted her face up, her eyes full of showiness and pride. I looked at her little protecting her food expression and felt my heart soften. All right, I surrendered. Who told you to speak, my little princess? Yay. Ethan, you're the best. She happily kissed me on the cheek. In that moment, I suddenly felt that occasionally going to these boring events, accompanying her and showing off our love to the whole world seemed, after all, rather fun. Especially when I found out that Evelyn Gray would also be attending that dinner. I wasn't trying to watch her suffer. I just simply wanted my girl to be happy. If her happiness was built on Evelyn Gray's pain, then all I can say is, Miss Gray, enjoy the movie. The charity gala arrived as scheduled. I wore a proper suit and escorted Sophia, clad in a starry blue evening gown, into the venue. The moment we appeared, we became the center of attention. Sophia was so beautiful. She was like the brightest star in the night sky, noble and elegant. Yet because I stood beside her, she also carried a hint of girlish coquettishness. The girls around us began covering their mouths and squealing softly. My God, is that Sophia's boyfriend? So handsome. They're such a perfect match. They're practically a divine couple. I hereby declare them my favorite CP of the year. I could feel countless gazes sweeping over us. Some were envious, some jealous, and then one gaze full of complex emotions, cold and chilling. I followed the feeling and looked over. In the corner, Evelyn Gray stood there alone. She had lost a lot of weight, wearing a conservative black gown, her face pale and her eyes hollow. The once aloof ice queen now resembled a black rose that had lost all its moisture on the verge of withering. She saw us too. When her gaze met the happy, sweet smile on Sophia's face, her body visibly trembled. I saw her clutch the wine glass tightly, her knuckles whitening from the force. In that moment, I understood every emotion in her eyes. Regret, resentment, jealousy, and a faint thread of pleading. Too bad it's too late. Ethan, what are you looking at? Sophia followed my gaze and saw Evelyn Gray too. Her smile dimmed a little, but it didn't disappear. She took my arm and tightened her hold. Don't pay attention to her. Let's go get something to eat. She pulled me toward the buffet, as if Evelyn Gray were nothing more than an insignificant backdrop. That feeling of being unconditionally trusted and defended, it truly felt amazing. The highlight of the banquet was the charity auction. One lot after another was presented, and everyone raised their paddles. Sophia didn't seem interested in any of them. She focused solely on the piece of tiramisu on her plate, until the final lot was brought forward. It was a diamond necklace designed by an anonymous designer called Heart of the Stars. Starting bid, $5 million. Wow, so beautiful. Sophia's eyes lit up. I smiled and picked up the bidding paddle on the table. Like it? She nodded vigorously. All right, I'll buy it for you. I raised the paddle. $6 million. The host had just announced my price when from the other side, a cold, aloof voice sounded. $10 million. It was Evelyn Gray. She had, at some point, taken a seat not far from us. She looked at me with kind of desperate, do-or-die craziness in her eyes. The entire hall burst into uproar. Everyone knew the feud between her and me. This isn't an auction. It's obviously a provocation. Sophia's face darkened. I patted her hand, signaling her to relax. Then I raised my paddle again and calmly announced a number. $50 million. Yes. The whole room erupted in a chorus of gasps. From $10 million straight to $50 million? Are they crazy? Evelyn Gray's face went instantly deathly pale. She stared at me intently, as if trying to find the slightest trace of bravado on my face. But I didn't. On my face, there was only a light, indifferent smile. As if $50 million were, to me, nothing more than an insignificant number. "Miss Gray, are you still going to follow through?" the host asked, also a little excited. Evelyn Gray's lips trembled, but she couldn't utter a single word. The Gray group was finished. Her assets had been frozen, and now she couldn't even come up with $5 million. What could she use to fight me? $50 million once, $50 million twice, $50 million 3 times. Sold. Congratulations, Mr. Ethan. Amid a burst of applause, I stood up, walked onto the stage, and signed the check. A staff member handed me the velvet box that contained the star heart. Holding the box, I did not return to my seat, but walked straight up to Evelyn Gray. To the astonishment of everyone, I opened the box. The dazzling diamond, under the lights, emitted a blinding brilliance. I looked at her and spoke slowly, word by word. "Miss Gray, do you know what the biggest difference between you and me is?" She didn't speak. She just looked at me with an almost despairing gaze. "The difference is," I said, taking the necklace out of the box, "to me, money is just a number. I spent $50 million not to buy this necklace, and not to spite you. I just wanted to make my girlfriend happy." After saying that, I stopped looking at her and turned to walk back to Sophia's side. With my own hands, I put the heart of the stars on her. The diamond's brilliance reflected the tears in her eyes, dazzlingly beautiful. "Do you like it?" I asked softly. She choked back sobs, unable to speak, and could only nod hard. I lifted her chin and, under the gaze of everyone in the room, gave her a gentle, lingering kiss. At that moment, I heard behind me the crisp sound of a glass shattering. I knew that was the sound of Evelyn Gray's world collapsing completely. In my world, the sunlight was just right and the years were peaceful. A life of lying flat, with her by my side, felt truly complete. "George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first?" I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. "Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. "How is that bad news?" Frank chuckled. "Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist." "What do you mean?" "A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost." The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. "Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed." "Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this." Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. "George, it's been a long time." She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. "Who are you?" I struggled to remain calm. "I'm Mary, your wife." She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. "Impossible. Mary is already dead." She laughed softly. "That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything." As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. "I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary." I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary?" She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. "This is the proof." Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. "Oh my God, it really is you, Mary." Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. "Frank, it's been a long time." She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, "Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew." A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. "Aren't you allergic to mangoes?" I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, "Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing." I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. "When did you start smoking?" I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor." I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. "Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level." Frank's eyes widened. "You mean, she's not Mary?" "I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up." 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. "Mary is an only child. We all know that." I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. "George, Mary is going to have a baby," my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that?" I managed to ask. "Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. "It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life." My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. "Mary, could you come here for a moment?" I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. "Did you forget about this?" I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. "George, I can explain." "Explain what?" "Explain that you're not Mary at all." Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. "What's going on with you two?" "Mom, take a look at this." I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. "What's going on?" "Mary, you can't have children." "Of course she can," I sneered, "because she's not Mary at all." My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the third day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. This is a surprise I prepared for you, I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. To celebrate the new life we're about to begin. She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, "Mary. This is my wife, Mary." I took her hand and stepped forward. "Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me." She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. "Is she really Mary?" The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. "The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost." I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. "Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew." The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. "What surprised me even more," I continued, "was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along." I let go of her hand and took a step back. "So, who are you really?" A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. "I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor." "The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right?" I sneered. "Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery." I turned toward the projection screen. "Let's see the truth." The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall, but there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained, Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, It showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, "In memory, dedicated to teacher Mary." Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. "New friend?" he asked me quietly. "Mary's student," I explained simply. "Very talented." Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the three of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. "Mr. George," Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've always had a question I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next?" The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. "I haven't decided yet," I answered honestly. "It might take some time to find a new direction." Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. "Maybe," Nicole said softly, "you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further." I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. "You mean creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry?" "Exactly," Nicole said excitedly. "Your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect." The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, "I have to confess something." I looked at her in confusion. "I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you," she said candidly. "I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion." Her sincerity moved me. "You're already on that path, and you're doing very well." "Then, may I consult you often?" she asked a little nervously. "Of course, I'd be delighted." On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, "See, I knew you would find a new direction." When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately, and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth, not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. "Am I really up to the task?" she asked me in the studio. "You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone," I assured her. "That's exactly what I need." In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. "This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it." At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's all right," I said with a smile. "I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself." Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, "Professor George, may I ask you a personal question?" "What is it?" "When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole." I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but..." "But what?" "But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. Don't play dumb, man, Frank said bluntly. You have feelings for her. That's obvious. That's just professional rapport, I argued. Is that so? Frank looked at me meaningfully. Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France? I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. I know what you're worried about. Frank lowered his voice. You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you? I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. Mary has been gone for 3 years now. Frank gently patted my shoulder. She would want you to be happy. After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months. Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. This experience has meant so much to me. I should be thanking you, I said sincerely. Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed. We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. My flight is the morning after tomorrow, Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow, so this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was, I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. "Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project," a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. "Mary, the exhibition was a great success today," I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. "Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted." Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. "Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me." A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, "I've been thinking about something." "What is it?" "If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met." Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. "Perhaps that's the irony of fate," I said softly. "Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings." When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. "Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path." "Luna," I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, "Her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent." "Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars," I sighed. "Everyone deserves a second chance." That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. "You mean?" "A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration," she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. "Love." I finished her sentence. "No matter what form it takes." Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. "We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration." "Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project." "We have time," she smiled, holding my hand. "We have so much time." In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines two embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.